Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to show you that how you can migrate your India's specific NAV 2016 data to Business Central. I think it's kind of essential. Usually I don't make blogs on any specific localization or anything. That's not what I do, but I think we can take India as an exception, and there are reasons behind that. With Business Central, I'll tell you that in detail with the video. Now, like I always do, before going any further, let me quickly introduce myself. I am Rishabh Shukla, currently working with Auli Technologies as a managing consultant. Apart from that, that's my GitHub repository. I have recently started my YouTube channel. Doesn't have too many videos on it, but yeah, feel free to subscribe it. And that's my blog. I have stopped writing at all, but anything that I put up on my YouTube channel, I also paste it here to, so it doesn't have that many views or anything here. But yeah, at some point I'm going to actually keep my YouTube channel intact. So before going any further, you can see there are a lot of windows open in my machine, and there's a particular reason behind that because and being a developer, we have seen that it happens that when you're doing a data migration, you are going to work on more than one windows. Okay, so why, at the beginning of this session, I said India is an exception for data migration. There's a reason behind that. So in a usual data migration. You always take from one table, you move your data from one table to another table. Usually you don't really change the ID of the table, or if you change the data movement, you write upgrade code units, you write functions that basically explore your data from one table to more than one table, or you summarize them or consolidate them into one table to more than one table. Now, in these scenarios, those migration are also going to be complex. These are also not straightforward migration. Now, cherry on top with this, previous version of India was on NAV 2016. So the existing customers do not have that much grip on extensions model because it was supporting V1 extensions. And now, since there has been ample amount of change with the design architecture, so it's very important that we also understand from a conventional practice to your extension model, plus a design change on India localization. What makes it a exceptional migration. Okay, so let's try to understand quickly this graph, and then it's going to be a two-part video. I will show you half of the journey, not a half of the journey. I'll say 80% of the journey with this migration. If you cover up the steps with this migration, you should be able to cover up almost everything. And yeah, later I will tell you the other step as well with my second video. Okay, so let's understand in theory, then I will also show you a very good example with this. That's your India 2016 database. Based on the documentation, it has to be nothing less than CU66 plus the TDS regulatory feature. So that's a separate object set. You have to import it before moving on to the upgrade process. If you are not using it, your upgrade is going to fail. So that's very important. Okay. Now, in a summary, if you see there are a lot of steps, but I will tell you what is happening in a very brief manner. We are taking a NAV 2016 database. You first take that database to Business Central 14, and by Business Central 14, I mean you basically convert your database from Business NAV 2016 to Business Central 14, and then from Business Central 14, you take it to BC 18 or BC 19. I guess yeah, it's going to be BC 19. Yes. So from BC 14, you take it to BC 19. So why you take that step? Because we all know BC 14 was the last version of Cal, where moving on after that, Cal was deprecated. And for the reason for specifically using it and not directly jumping to BC18 is because I think you are going to make destructive changes in your data migration. By destructive change, I'm not saying you're going to lose your data or anything. By destructive changes, I mean you are going to need upgrade tables to move data from one table to one intermediate table, then from that intermediate table to your extension tables. By extension tables, I not only mean your custom extension. By extension table, I also mean extension tables of India localization. right? So if you are aware of India localization, you should know that India localization is an extension-based localization. It has different extensions. So any GST specific customization that you have done, or you have GST specific data in your table, you have to first move it to India GST extension. And for that, you are going to move it to a upgrade table, which is an intermediate table. And that is what exactly happens in BC14. Okay. So once you are in BC14, you make that BC14 database a W1 database. How? You first install all, you first move your data from intermediate table to your extension tables. So now in a very technical sense, in a very table data mode, I will say, you have your BC14 ready with a W1 layer, and on top of that, you have India specific extensions. And it doesn't mean that you can run BC14 on India localization. No, because it only has table extensions on it. Okay. Now, once you have this database, to a normal developer, that database is going to be a BC14 W1 database. On top of that, India localization extension and your customized extensions. Okay, and then it's going to be vanilla. I'll say vanilla because that's a standard approach of moving extension database of BC14 to BC19, right? And once you're around BC19, you can move it to intelligent cloud. So the whole dynamics or the major chunk of your migration that happens is in BC14 only. And after BC14, your database is just like next. You run all the commands based on the standard documentation of Microsoft. You move it to the new database. Okay. So in this video, I will try to cover the whole idea of preparing and completing your BC14 migration first. And in the next video, I will cover up the idea from BC14 to BC19. Okay. So let's begin. So I have one database with me. So on the top, you can see that it says Dynamics uh, demo database 9-0, but in a general sense, it is basically a BC14 environment. I can just quickly double check that. There you go. So what I did in general, that's the part actually I skipped. On a BC6, on a NAV 2016 database, you have to compile all the objects. Okay, and once you compile all the objects, one more very important thing, clean up as much as you can before moving on to any further upgrade. Like if you don't want any, garbage data, remove it on NAV 2016 itself. Don't wait for it to, go up front in BC14 or 18 or 19, and then you start removing it. Don't do that. Try to clean up as much as you can in NAV 2016 itself. Okay. Now, compile all the objects, build server application, standard stuff. So no need to explain that. Now, if you want to, if you're prepared with that, strong recommendation, and I hope everybody already always does that. So I'm going to skip that part of taking backups. Run these two queries just to ensure that you don't have any debugger breakpoint or you don't have any active server instance with you. Stop the services as well. Now take the BC14 build, and by BC14 build, it's very important to understand what I mean here, that Microsoft has issued a new build for BC14 India localization. Okay, and that's very essential because in this you will see a bunch of extensions that we are going to use. And these extensions are specifically for migrating your data. Now you must have seen this extension in your BC18 environment as well, if you are aware of BC18 migration of or development of India. But considering that if you open the source for these extensions, it's only table. It doesn't have any, functionality specific thing. So be very careful about that. So do not use any Business Central 14 database for your running your functionality. It's not going to give you any functionality of it. Okay. All right. Apart from that, this setup is also really important because you need to have this upgrade toolkit. Okay. And by upgrade toolkit, I mean this object. Okay, so I'm going to show you this that how I used it. Okay, so documentation is also one of the best way of starting things, but I have summarized the step as much as I can. Okay, so let's see. So first step, once you are in your BC14 environment, you open that database, going to ask you a couple of questions, convert this, that, select OK. It's going to take some while. And then you're ready. Okay. Now the first step would be that you sync all the schema of your table objects in later mode. Okay. So I will say tables. select all, and I'll compile and say later. Now, while I'm doing this, steps that I'm performing here might take a while to, cover up things. So feel free to, forward it and, move on. Some reason it's taking longer than expected, but let's see. Ah. So there are going to be some steps which is going to take a longer amount of time. So while I'm doing that, let's see what our next step is going to be. And in this case, we are going to say build server application object. Now, there are some standard stuff. Don't bother about, remembering them or following it. If you have done migration from any database other than India, then most of the steps are same. You don't have to really, understand the dynamics of them. So yeah, it's very essential that you also understand that how you upgrade from a normal W1 database to any, standard databases. All right, so compilation is done, and you will get this error for CRM connection setup. That's a known issue with if you have seen documentation. Now the next thing will be that I will run build several application objects. So I'll run this. I just wanted to ensure that I'm right because sometime I click on the wrong button of creating search index. So by the way, in the description of my video, I'm also going to copy and paste these steps just in case if you guys need them. So yeah, uh, let's see. All right, so it has done that, and there is a bunch of error. Again, if you have seen the documentation, it's a known error. So now let's move to the next step, which is to run data upgrade. Now we need to run data upgrade so that we are able to run the further commands. So I'll say data upgrade, start. Just ensure that you don't have any running sessions in the backend. All right, so that's completed too. Super. Now the next thing would be that I delete this series of objects and let me filter on this, and it has to be a table filter, and the schema sync mode should be for force mode. Okay, again that this is again nothing specific to India to be honest, and it's something pretty standard stuff. And if you go to the documentation, you will see the list of objects too, but I've just made it very, summarized so that it's easier for developers. So if you see the list of the tables, most of them DO payment and all blah blah blah, they are obsolete, deprecated functionalities. Job queue, we no longer need this table. Yeah. So I'll say force. Okay. All right. Next thing would be to publish the system app from my BC14 folder. So once you have installed BC14, you should have this path with you. Okay, and under this path you should have the system app file there with you. If you want, I can take you right away. There you go, system app, base app, test app, sorry. Okay, so standard stuff. I will publish these two files, and let's see, there you go. So that's going to be your command. Do it in administration shell. I'll say system app and then test app. Again, thanks to this warning that I'm getting, guys, just ensure that you have a developer license. Again, guys, standard stuff, but you still gonna need that, right? All right, so now test app and system app are published. Now you have to enable this property in your service tier. So what we will do is I will go to my BC14 service. That's my service name. And in the development tab, I guess I should have, yeah, there you go. Enable loading application symbol reference at server. So you enable it and then you restart it, your service, or you can restart it at first go. Okay. All right. So up to this point, you should have your service tier running with you. Okay. Now the next part would be, and this is where it gets interesting. Like I said, things were in cal convention, so you need to generate symbols from BC14. Okay, and that's why we need to be on the BC14 environment, because again with the upgraded models you of Business Central, you don't really have these conventions there because cal was deprecated by that time. Okay, that's why the journey is mandate to run through BC14 itself. Okay, so we are going to run this command, which is going to generate symbols for our database. Now, technically we are on BC14, but functionally the database is still NAV 2016. Okay, so to run this command, you have to ensure that you go to your command prompt and you should be on this path. So if you don't know how to go to this path, just type cd space this path name, and that's typically the path where you have installed your Business Central 14. Okay, so you run this command and just ensure the server name is going to be your server name and database name is going to be your database name. If you don't know these details, go back to your cal environment, file database information, and then under this, that's going to be your server name and database name. Okay. All right. So I'll say enter. Now it's a very important thing. Once you press enter, if you go right click task manager and you go to details, type F. So now you can see there are two executables showing me for FinSQL. Now one of them is at 487000 and second of them is basically incrementing. Okay, so what it is doing right now, it's running the FinSQL in a generate symbol mode. So it's basically generating symbols for the NAV 2016 objects that I have. So this is where I said it's very, very important that you have your 2016 environment compiled and ready, so that you should be able to generate symbols. Okay, and that's why we deleted those objects in force mode. So if you don't have the objects compiled for your database or something, first do that. And if there is a .NET reference or something, I can understand that why we have this challenge. So just comment out that code and then move it here. Okay, while I'm doing that, I almost forgot, I forgot to explain you the example that I'm doing here. So in my GST group table, I have created a field to move that fields data to my GST group extension table that I will create. Okay. Um, for the other fields, standard approach or standard migration toolkit will take care of that. But for this field, you have to write your own code. Okay. So I'll show you how I do that. Okay. And that's basically the main reason why I'm making this video. So again, this there are a few steps which are going to take a while. So guys, please feel free to forward the video if you want to, because I have to wait till it's not completed. And that's mainly the reason why I've made it a two-part video, because that's going to be a very lengthy video. Usually it goes to lump sum, I'd say 2 lakhs something, or 240, 250. Now, if the command is completed successfully, there should be a notepad file created on the path that we mentioned on the DOS while changing our directory. And that file should have this content written on this, that it took 198 seconds. So yeah, that's the time it usually takes. That's a good thing, 198 seconds. And for us to generally understand, I mean, this exe file is going to be deleted from this list once the symbols are generated. All right, we are close. Anytime now. I should have made a priority on this, but let's not change anything right now. All right, so now the exe is gone. And if you go to that path, which, let's see, quick access, there you go. So you can see the time here, 14:01. Now it says command completed successfully. Now, if in case you don't see any objects, not objects, if you don't see uh, any other file apart from this, then you're good to go. I mean, your symbols are generated successfully. Now, if not, then you have to make sure that you fixed all the compilation issues. So it will say that file, symbol generation failed, blah, 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 go to the other file. Then there should be another file which keeps a log of the errors. Okay. Again, standard stuff, guys. There is nothing new in this. Other migration toolkits already do that. So for other countries, I guess. I mean, so no need to change anything here. All right. So let's move to the next step, right? Now the next step would be that I will publish my upgrade table extensions. Now this is where you have to publish a couple of extensions with you. So that's going to be our first step. Now let's jump to the part where we have the BC14 India DVD with us. Now in this, we have an extension which is known as upgrade table extension. So that's our app. Okay. Now it's very important to understand. Now, usually when you import or you do write a migration toolkit or something, you create upgrade objects, right? You create upgrade tables. What you do in that is that you create a replica of the table in the sense of primary key, and then you create additional keys or additional fields there. And it's the same thing which is happening here, but in this case, we are doing it as form of extensions. Okay, and that's specific to India related apps. Okay, so now it's very important to understand, and this is why I told you that I'm taking example of GST group code. So in this case, India data migration is going to take care of all this because it has an extension which I've shown you, which has all these five fields, but it doesn't know what to do with this field. So what we are going to do is we'll open this extension and we are going to add this 50,000 field in our case. Okay. So again, to open this straightforward stuff, just unzip that file, open it in your extension VS Code. Just keep in mind that you have to use the V6 file of BC14, okay, and disable the other one. And um, that's an honest mistake everybody does. Okay, so like I said, it has a table UPG GST group. That's for our intermediate table that was I'm talking about. And 1 to 5, you have the list of the fields which I was saying it's in the 2016. Now that's going to be my field, migration app file field. Okay, it's basically a text field, and I've just put some dummy data on it. So yeah, let's understand the video with a very simple scenario. You guys are smart enough for complexity, right? So I have this. Now what I will do here, I'll say download symbols, and I should have done by removing the .al packages. Okay, it says download symbols, but I'm very peculiar on some of the things. So I'll say remove this, and I'll say download symbols again. So what I just did is that I removed the .al packages. It's not really necessary step, but I usually clear the cache and then download my symbols again. All right, so now I have the symbols and I can see there are no errors to me. Okay, and just quickly double check our launch file. It doesn't have any breaking changes or force synchronization, and is going to be targeting to that database. So I'll say F5. Now, if you don't have a database which is customized, you don't have to go through this step of opening it into VS Code. You can simply take this extension app file and just right away publish it. Okay. Oops. No, 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 no. No. It has opened a web client. I don't really want that, but yeah, that's fine. Um, it's okay. So in summary, our package is published. That's a good thing. Okay. Now let's see. Let's go back to the notepad file again. Like I said, it's a long journey, so I have noted down the steps in summary. So now you take a filter of the India localization specific ID, and we are going to remove those table objects from the table from the database, and be very specific about it. It has to be in later mode. Okay, don't do it in force mode. Don't do it in now with validation mode. Okay, so I'll go here. I'll say tables, filter. I'll put this filter, select all, delete for, oh, not for, see, I made that mistake almost there. I'll see later. All right, so that's one thing. Now the next step would be that I will delete all objects in this database except tables. Okay, so I will say all, remove this. All right, be very careful about this. You might get an error that you are not able to delete if you just do a delete by this filter. Okay, because it's going to say that you do not have permission to delete version triggers. So what's happening here is once you have done the data upgrade, or I'll say when you open your database on BC14, you have these code units. And since they are now part of system app, so Microsoft doesn't give you access to this, these tables. So you cannot particularly delete them, even if you have a developer license. Okay, so you have to do it one by one. So I'll go pages, delete. Not going to take that much time. Reports, delete. Code unit. Now code unit, we have to be very specific. Anything less than this, delete. Query, delete. XML port, delete. And we'll delete many sorts as well. All right, so now the only objects that we have here is a couple of code units which are required to run the system and our tables. All right, we're good. Now we are going to import the W1 FOB in a later mode. So now this is again very important. Now we are making our database equivalent to W1. Okay, and that's very important. And on top of W1, we are going to have India extensions and our custom extensions. Okay, so you should have the W1 FOB, and guys, don't import North America or any you know closely relevant build because at the end you're going to screw up your upgrade. Okay. So I'll say file import. I have that W1 objects handy. There you go. Now again, this step was also one of the things which was taking some time. So I have to do it in later mode. So let's see. Say no. Do replace all. Again, be very careful of these things. Later. And there's an understanding why we are doing it in later mode. And that's because, if you do it in now with validation, it's not going to work because it is going to be a destructive change because you have India specific fields and you could have your custom specific field in the standard tables. And what you're doing right now is that you're importing W1 on this right away. Okay, so you do it in later mode so that doesn't synchronize the schema or doesn't try to synchronize the schema. And don't do it in force mode because you're going to end up losing your data. Do it in later mode, and I'll show you that how we are going to upload all the extensions and related things to it so that it start moving that data from one table to another table. Okay, so it's this step was actually longer than the generate symbol stuff, guys. So yeah, feel free to move on or forward the video if you want to. So while we are at this step and while it is happening there, these are some of the extensions. Like I said, they're going to be part of your BC14 build, except it should have one Upgrade India app. Now, part of this app will be to move your data from your upgrade tables to your main tables. So if you understand now, there are going to be two upgrade extensions in this build for India. One is this upgrade UPG India, and another one is going to be where did it go? Yeah, upgrade table. So we have published this app. Okay. Now at the very end, we are going to publish this app, but before that, we have to make our database ready. So this app in general has your UPG tables, your intermediate tables. Okay. So whenever we are going to synchronize the schema, this table, this app is going to cater all the data of India specific customization. Okay, so anything specific to India related tables, you can move your, change the source of this extension, add that field here, and then you publish it. Okay, again, usually not the conventional approach that we take, but like I said, India is going to be an exception in these scenarios. Okay, all right, so I guess we have to wait a little bit more. While it is happening, again, a thought, because while doing the migration of BC14, there are some known compilation issues that you face. One of them is actually easily, easy to fix. One with that is page metadata. And yeah, if you go to documentation by Microsoft, you can easily go ahead and fix them, right? So that's one of the things. Not sure if this documentation have that step. Uh, yes, seems like if you see the documentation here as well, you can understand that it's not exactly as entirely separate modification, but instead we are taking a migration from standard steps plus some custom steps for India data migration. Okay, that's why it has some specific steps to it. So you can see it says converting database from one step to another step, blah blah blah, all those things. So uninstall app, install app, it has some standard stuff, and that's one of the reasons why I made the steps really summarized in this video so that it helps. So you guys do that. All right, I think we are almost there. Search index should not take that much of time. All right, so now we have the W1 objects. And since from NAV 2016 to BC14, W1 itself has also changed a lot of things. Okay, so in this case, we are going to import the upgrade toolkit of W1. So to do that, I'll say file import. Again, I'll go to my India specific BC14 folder base, and under that, I will go to upgrade toolkit, local objects. Be very specific, you have to import this object. Okay, 90014x.in. Again, do it in later mode. Um, and before I tell you to do that, I'll have another thing to explain here. Let it get completed. I'll explain you this. Okay, so I'll import it again. And this is again very important. Now, like I said, there are going to be few customization that you have done on the India specific tables, right? You have to add those fields into that extension, the upgrade table extension. Apart from that, let's say if you have done any change on item table, okay, in that case, you have to modify or merge your fields to this table or this file right away. So you import them, merge them, make changes, and or maybe re-import them again. And again, that's the usual approach that it takes. Okay, so be very careful about this. Any change related to these tables, you have to add your fields into these tables right away in FOB. Okay, any changes related to India specific tables, you have to move them and create them into your India extensions. Okay, So I'll say this later. Okay. So it should not take that much of time compared to W1. All right, so that's done. Now the next part, and that's going to be the very crucial part, we are going to move our data from our, standard tables to the upgrade tables. Okay, so we are going to run the schema synchronization. So fingers crossed. Let's say I'll try to run it with check only mode. Again, be very careful with the up to this step. If you are done up to this step, be very careful. You take a backup prior to um, running the validation, because if you screw up at this point, you are going to lose the database at some certain level, because it says check only, but you won't be able to publish anything or do anything on this database, because now the database is completely in pending sync mode. You can see here. Okay, so lucky me, I have validated all the changes correctly. So I am now going to run the schema synchronization with validation option. Now, while it is happening, guys, I hope you already understand, but this video is going to be specifically for how you're going to move your data from NAV 2016 to Business Central, moving your functionality and your code or any specific customization that you've done, not related to data. I mean, again, data is going to be taken care by this video, but apart from that, you have any functionality, you want to move your data into it. I mean, feel free to drop off your question on the channel itself or the video itself, but you have to do that in a conventional manner. I mean, create events and subscribers, or if you're modifying base app, yeah, feel free to modify India app as well and make those changes there. But that's going to be the only way for doing it. But usually, if you take my word, I will suggest, instead of taking the data or taking the functionality um, in a merged manner by modifying the base app. If you're going to be on the on-prem, I'll say instead take the route where do go with the event subscriber model, because from NAV 2016 to BC 19, I'll say it at today's point, have there's a huge bridge which has been created. So I think the only way to cover up this is to put one-time effort to jump right away to BC 19 by making, or I'll say, um, refactor your code in a manner that it is compatible with BC19. Okay. All right. So it is 100%, but it still says sync in progress. So yeah, now it says operational. Now at this point, guys, you have won half the battle. Okay. If you're done with this part, you're almost there. Okay. When I say almost there, of the BC14 step. And again, it's half the battle won from you. Okay. So cheers to that. Let's move on. And let's ensure that our tables and schemas are right. Yeah. So just to double check, I will just put up a query, and where is my SQL? There you go. Say new, and just to ensure UPG GST group was the table of the upgrade table, and that was the ID of the extension. Okay, so you can run it just the way I'm doing it, because ID is going to be same in your case too, and the table name, only the company name is going to be different. Okay, so I run this. So now you can see the data of GST group code, which is basically a Cronus database, is there, and I have just added dummy values in my field, so A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. Yeah, so good. Um, and if I try to run GST group table, then it should not be in my database now. There we go. All right, so I don't have GST group now. Everything is moved to my upgrade, and anything specific to standard is basically to W1. It's moved into the FOBs of UPG. Okay. All right, so that's one thing done. Um, I will say restart your session now because I have faced this error. It's not in the documentation, but somehow I faced it. So it's not a bad idea to restart your session. Oops, why am I here? Restart. Okay, so I've restarted the session and now let's see what the next step is. So now at this point, we have to run the data upgrade. I think I have done that. Yeah, I have to run data upgrade again because I've done the schema validation. Now, when I run the schema update, it basically moved my data to upgrade tables. Now I have to run data upgrade because I now have to move data from the upgrade tables to the main tables. And again, guys, be very careful about this step as well. When you start this, you are going to move the data of upgrade tables of W1 only. It's not going to move data of India specific tables. Okay. Again, this is where India becomes an exception. Okay. So I'll say start parallel. Okay. It's going to take a while. So again, guys, like I was saying, and sorry for repeating myself, but at this point, it's moving the data of, let's say, UPG item table to the main item table. Okay, it's not moving the data of the India specific tables, which is in UPG. You still have that into the UPG tables of India, and you're not moving it to any other table right now because you haven't published the India specific extensions yet. Okay, and that's one of the things that you're going to do at some point. All right. I think I can minimize this too. There you go. There it is running. Ah, seems like it was basically waiting for me to click on that. Again, feel free to forward, guys, because I have to perform all these activity, but you don't have to wait that long. Okay, that is completed too. Super. Um, so now let's see what we have next. So since you have changed the code, technically, you have to generate the symbols again. Okay. So I will say run that generate symbol file command again. And why am I doing this? Because technically we have changed the code, we have loaded new objects. So since now we have uploaded new objects, we are going to generate symbols of those new objects because at some point we are going to need them for publishing our further extensions, right? Again, I think it's going to, take a while to complete it. So yeah, feel free to forward the video, guys. Again, I'm saying it again and again. Oops, I'll do it tomorrow. That's a bit odd. It's just moving across 1 to 2 numbers, not moving that much. So while it is happening, let's go back to quick access, and then yeah, we don't have any file here, so I guess there is no error so far. So for some reason, it's taking more or less memory, but we don't really have to bother about this. As long as it is there, it means it is doing something. And if you don't have any file here, it means that you can still wait on it. So yeah, all right, all of a sudden it's basically move up. Again, be very careful when you're doing this upgrade if you have a massive amount of database, because right now I'm doing it on Cronus and that's on my local machine. If you're doing it on a massive database, take a good space database, take a high configuration database, okay? Because you can see that you are going to generate symbols and you're going to do a bunch of stuff before and after. And while it is happening, I have shown you a couple of things. So one of them was that I have added a field on this extension and I pressed F5 from here right away. It's not necessary that you also do it that way. I mean, you can keep those changes ready with you. I mean, in one table, in another table, blah, blah, blah. Once you're done, create a package file and then run the publish and nav app command right away. You don't really have to use VS Code for this, right? You can do your changes beforehand and keep the app files ready and just, once you're ready, just boom, publish it. Just take a quick look because that's hopefully going to be the last big step. And we are, guys, like I said, we're almost there with BC14. Suppose this, we are just going to, compile the 2 lakh series object for some reason. I don't know why, but I've noticed that the objects, the system behaves in a different manner. And if I try to compile this list of object and do build server application object, it starts working. I mean, maybe I'm wrong and maybe I'm crazy. If you haven't faced this error, don't follow me on this. But yeah, I have taken that as part of my step, but it's not really necessary. And post that, we are going to publish our extensions. When I say our extensions, in India specific extensions, okay, which is going to create a schema for you. And then we are going to run a batch, which is going to move the data from upgrade tables of India to main tables of India extensions. And then we are just going to do a very quick POC, whether we are on this. All right, so come on. I think this time symbol generation took longer than the previous one, so I don't know why. And it's very important that we also, keep cleaning the log file, the LDF file as well, as and when needed, because it's basically, expanding the size of database too. But I'm quite sure if you do it on a good configuration machine, it should not take this much long. I mean, it takes time, but not this much. Let's see what happens if I set the priority as high. It didn't make any difference when I set the priority to real time or high. I don't know why. I mean, as soon as it crosses 2 lakhs, we're it just finishes off anytime. So let's wait. So we don't have any file here, which means we're good. All right, we're close. 215, 216. Should be completed anytime now. Let's see. Not sure if it goes to 246 to the one at this point. All right, 241. Right, 239 again. Okay, it went longer than this one. Could be because the number of objects are more as compared to NAV 2016. Oh, thank God, it's done. So now let's see how much time it took. 7:45 seconds. I think that is definitely my machine. I must say that is definitely my machine. 7:45 seconds. Um, it's almost 12 minutes. All right, so that's, I think, hopefully the last time we have run this activity. So let's move on. Now, I'll go with my nostalgia. I'll just say 2 lakh series. I'll go in, compile, now with validation. And I will also do build server application objects. So now I don't have any errors on it. That is good. Now let's try to install each and every extension in this sequence and be very specific, guys. You have to install in this sequence. You can take an exception that by publishing tax engine, because tax engine doesn't really have any dependency of standard of India objects. That's basically the primary extension. So you can get these file from your app folders I was showing you previously. So I'll say publish nav app. I'll just copy it, and or guys, be very smart in this case. I'll show you one by one, but I will definitely and strongly suggest you guys create some PowerShell scripts, some smart scripts, where you can do it in a flash by one go. Okay, but yeah, if you're not doing that, that's also not a big thing. Um, so I'll say development shell, publish nav app tax engine. So that's published, and I'll just take this to my left and make this to my right. And now I will sync and install it. And let me see. There you go. So that's one app done. I will now do it for uh, data space, and this time I'll try to publish, sync, and install in same go. Let's see what happens. Boom. And I will do it for GST. All right. And now I will do it for TCS. That is brilliant. TDS. And then depreciation. In the documentation, you also have the sequencing of apps. If you don't have it, you can just follow this, and that will also help. Then you have to go for gate entry, then voucher interface, and then the last app, data migration. I was getting an error while deploying this for the first time. Oh, and I'm getting it again. So, strange thing, for some reason it doesn't get that extension. And let me show you the error. And again, guys, no need to panic here, right? Because we are almost there. Okay, so it says it cannot get the India upgrade table extension for some reason. I don't know why. So I will just go in here and I will publish the India upgrade table extension. So that's the first extension, if you remember, we published, right? So I'm just going to publish it again, and my gut feel says that it is because it basically did not. I did it using VS Code, and while doing all these process, it might have been uninstalled again. So no big challenge. So that is published, and let's try to publish it from here again. It did not happen again, so no problem. I will open another session that is for my VS Code. There it is. And in this session, I've opened that this app file itself, which is India data migration, the app that we are basically trying to publish. Okay, so just open this and delete the .al packages. Let's try to download symbols. Let's see what happens now. I have a .al packages folder, which is good. I have the extensions. At some point, I should be having this message. That is awesome. Let's see. Still giving some error. It should be gone, which is gone. Let's try to publish it from here. There you go. So, I mean, either ways, guys, I might be getting that error for some reason, but you may not. So if you're getting this error, feel free to go into that extension and publish it from VS Code because you are anyways in a development mode, right? So you can do it by that way as well. And if you can publish it from app file mode itself, then yeah, kudos to you. All right, so we are done with this step, and now we have to run a process. Now, like I said, we have India extensions, we have our upgrade extension, and now there is one more thing that I have to explain you. Apart from all these extensions, I have created one more extension for me, and that is basically my custom extension. Okay, so with you working as a partner for a customer, you have to build your own extensions too, right? For anything specifically done on standard objects. So you create that extension, and all other data is going to be moved in a conventional way except India related tables. So I've shown that example only just to make this video more relevant for you guys. So like I said, I've created a field in GST group table. Okay, so I've created a table extension for it, and with the same ID and the same field name, I've created a field in it. Okay, now apart from that, when I run a batch now, at some point it is going to cover up and it is going to go through a object. And for that, let me just walk you through this code unit. So we are in India data migration code unit that basically is responsible for moving your data from the UPG tables, and that is your intermediate tables, to your main tables. Okay. And these are some of the code units which basically does that. So my customization is related to, GST. So I will go upgrade GST data, and within this data transfer, I have to look for in a smart way again, guys, GST group, right? So it says update GST group. Don't bother about from where the function is getting called, and feel free to change the code just in case you want to do anything custom. But like I said, or like Microsoft says, if you make any change on the code, you are going to be responsible for that case. Yeah. So it has a publisher on basically after each insert. Okay, which means that you have to subscribe this in, publisher in your extension. And then once the data of these fields are populated, you can subscribe this and update your data as well. So that's what exactly I did. I created a subscriber in my code unit, and I've used this. Now from record means the UPG GST group code table. And when I say to record, it means the GST group code table of India localization. Okay, it has two variables as variant, and I mean, not necessarily, but if you don't have any idea about how to use variant, and I'm sure you guys really do already know that, but if you don't know this, just use these piece of code, make a case statement for this, because I've done only for GST. You can done it in you have done it in a different way. I mean, you just say case recref number of then and then in this you can say database this begin end, and then probably in this case you have copy pasted your code here, right? And then you can say else exit. That's it. I'll suggest don't put any errors in this block because that's basically an upgrade activity. But yeah, that's basically your call, right? If you have any other table in your mind, make a case statement for that too, because this code is basically a generic subscriber. If you notice it here by the name, right? It has variant in it, so it's going to come here all the time for different tables. Okay. All right, so I will do this and let's see. As part of dependency, take dependency of tables that you extensions that you want to use it in. Okay, and I'll say not here. I'll say I will publish this extension now. All right, so now we are going to actually use the client. Okay, so now we have a web client which is for BC140. Again, don't try to use the functionalities, guys, because it only has table data on it. Okay, now just a quick look. If you go now to extension management, you will see bunch of India extensions, which is a good sign. Okay, it means that yeah, you're almost there. It doesn't have any base app because BC14 doesn't have base app concept. It, like I said, it came up after BC14 was, upgraded to further version. I think it was spring release of Wave 2 in BC15. Yeah, it was BC15. All right, so the final step would be I'll search for transfer data. Okay. Now we have to understand what this process means. You have to run this process for each company one by one. Okay. On the right side, you have a dashboard which shows that how many companies do you have. Okay. It says Kronos India Limited, which is pending. If it is done, then it shows success. If not, then it shows pending. It says pending companies. It says one pending. Some reason fact boxes are coming up and down like this. And don't mind. Pending tables. So it says pending table. These tables are pending. I mean, obviously you can see it from here. Why it shows pending table? Because after moving data for each table one by one, it basically, completes them. It basically commits the record so that every time you run it for the next approach, if in case you face any error, it does not run it from the beginning right away. Okay. Completed tables are none, right? So I will say start data migration. It's going to run the batch. Keep on saying completed table this. Yeah, I think definitely something is odd with my machine because it's just Cronus database. I was running it from the morning. Ever since it's like 4/5 time I'm running it. So it could be the reason why it's getting really, really slow now. I might have to restart it after completing this video. All right, so now you can see every table is completed. On the right side, you can see 176 tables completed. If you have faced any error in any of them, the process would have stopped at that point only. And when you fix that error, you run it again, it's going to start at that point only. Okay. So the completed tables are going to be ignored. So if you want to do it, run it again right away from the beginning, just ensure that you are making the changes. And the only way of doing it is to make changes in the table in the backend. Okay. So you have to run the same process for all the companies. Once you're done with it, it's not going to delete the data of the upgrade tables. You have to do it manually because, like I said, it's not a conventional upgrade. Okay. In a conventional upgrade, you basically write those logics. So now I will say once you're done with all the companies, okay, delete upgrade table data. Data deleted successfully. All right. So let's see. At this point, I should have my table extensions populated with the right field name and everything. Let me maximize this. So I will say GST group, And this time I will say GST group of India localization. So that's, yeah, it's definitely not India localization. I'll also copy my extension range. All right, so that's India localization GST group table, right? It has all the data in it, which is good. And I will also run. I should have that query somewhere copied with me. Yeah, there you go. So this table is blank now, UPG GST group code, because we have deleted all the data from it. GST group of India localization has all the data now. Now, one thing which is for our extension table, there it is. All right. So I run it like this. It will look pretty cool. There you go. Okay. Now, if you are done till this point, you have won 90% of the battle. Okay. You're all, I'll say you're almost there, because let's try to understand, because that's where the part I'm going to conclude this video. And I'm going to take it to the next part for concluding the rest of them, because I've already consumed a lot of time. So what we have done right now, we have a database ready in BC 140, which is basically a W1. On top of that, we have India extensions. And on top of that, we have our custom extensions. Okay, it's basically a India localization or extension model database, where which is basically out of functionality because we have to move it to BC19 in our next step. And apart from that, now the database is purely vanilla for you. When I say vanilla, I mean it's purely a standard database, like you do it in a standard conventional approach for moving database from BC14 to BC18, right? It's going to be that conventional approach. Okay, but nevertheless, if you are able to do it from take it from here, feel free to do that. I'll just tell you some final steps before completing this. You have to unpublish and uninstall some of the extensions, which is the upgrade extensions. It's not going to harm that much, but again, you don't really want any unwanted extensions in your database. So before moving any further from this database to any further version, just make sure that you are um, removing the unwanted extensions. So before moving from one version or X version to Y version, clean up as much as you can from that version. So that's basically the usual approach. All right. So yeah, I mean, guys, that is pretty much it in this part of this video. It's going to be a two-part video. I'm going to tell you the next step in my next video. Feel free to put up your questions on it, and yeah, I will also see if I have enough response on it, then I will definitely try to come up with the next part of this video. So yeah, feel free to comment on it, and if you have any questions. Again, I'm not particularly expert of India related functional scenarios of taxation. So yeah, if you have any questions regarding that, don't bother replying on it, because I'm not going to not going to be in a position to answer it. Yeah, but apart from that, if you have any questions about tax engine, if you have any questions about um, this migration data in fundamental idea, I'll be happy to answer your questions. Okay. All right, guys. See you in the next part of this video, and thank you for staying that long. Have a good day. Bye.